Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Days and welcome to this review of the greatest Royal Rumble. There's not loads to say. It felt a bit like a house show with fireworks because a lot of the results were pretty obvious. Like, it was pretty obvious that Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy were going to win because they're on Raw and it was for the Raw Tag Team Championships, but the bar were on SmackDown. Same with like Jeff Hardy against Jinder Mahal. And really, did anyone expect The Undertaker to lose? I also felt that John Cena would win. I felt the Bludgeon brothers would win. There wasn't many surprises. Some nice moments, though. I really liked the finish to the ladder match. Seth coming off the ropes and getting to the top of that ladder just before Finn Balor could. Because they could have put the title on Finn. Because both Finn and Seth are on Raw. Whereas Miz and Samoa Joe are on SmackDown, so I thought it was quite clever using them two superstars. It could only have been with them two superstars to have created that kind of effect. I thought the Rumble match lacked surprises. Obviously, the Hornswoggle surprise was heavily rumoured, and that's not WWE's fault, but they just didn't have anything else. Well, they did, but they were surprises that nobody knew about. Didn't know who they were. Like, I watch NXT, and I don't know who Babatunde is. Clearly, I need to start going a little deeper into the NXT roster. But Babatunde isn't a name, not a superstar that you see on takeover shows or on NXT every week. Cool looking superstar. I'm totally into the idea of including, someone like that. But then, why would you include Dan Mather as well? Why would you include that sumo wrestler? Was it Hiroki Sumi? No one knew. Like, I thought the stadium was going to erupt. I thought the Saudi Arabian crowd might know of this guy, but he got a very lackluster response. It kind of felt like WWE wanted a match that had really big men in, had little men in, like Hornswoggle, tall men like the great Khali. And I think what WWE were trying to do was to try and go, okay, here's this Rumble match. What do you think is going to happen when this guy goes into it? And what do you think about when this guy goes into it? And what do you think about when this guy goes into it? And I think rather than playing on names, which, I don't know how popular WWE is with the Saudi Arabian market. Perhaps they only know the marquee names. Perhaps they don't know, any of the mid-carders or maybe even any of the legends. Perhaps Goldberg just wouldn't have been recognised in Saudi Arabia. I simply don't know. So maybe they countered that by putting in men of different shapes and sizes. That's the only kind of logical thinking I can come to as to why they would put a sumo wrestler in and why they would put someone like Babatunde, who was huge. He was huge. He was like, I think nearly as tall as Braun. I'd have to go back and watch that. But that's why I think they did that. And as I said, as a result, for us fans that watch week in, week out, know a bit about the legendary superstars and whatever, just felt like there was something missing. Braun winning, I think, was the right call. For me, it needed to either be Braun or Daniel Bryan, and I like the fact that Daniel Bryan was eliminated by Big Cass after being in it for so long. That puts a lot of heat on Big Cass. That is very clever booking. Braun wins a belt. Where did that come from? Won a green belt, which is cool, but he's never going to be able to defend it. So when is he ever going to wear it? So what was the point in him having it? I can only imagine it was so he had something of worth to show the crowd. Trophies don't mean as much in the WWE. It's all about titles and belts, and perhaps they felt that, they weren't guaranteeing Braun a title opportunity. So how about we just give him a title? The belt from one image looked amazing. When it was on the cushion, when we very first saw it, looked amazing. But then when you actually saw it in person, looked a little bit cheap. So yeah, I don't see this ever getting defended. I'm not sure we'll ever see it again. I think this is just going to be a really cool little fact for wrestling fans to talk about in the future. Like, did you know they once gave away a Royal Rumble belt? What? So yeah, I'm kind of into it, if I'm telling the truth. The big talking point of the night, no two ways about it. Titus O'Neil come running down, trips up, goes straight under the ring. It's all over Twitter, it's all over the internet. Titus has embraced it by saying he can see the merch checks coming in. So clearly he's got thoughts about cashing in on what he did. And so he should, because it was absolutely epic. As was the botch, the whisper in the wind. Jeff Hardy coming off the top rope, not making any contact with Jinder Mahal, and Jinder going, and basically falling down. That was probably the other or second most talked about moment from the whole show. The opening match I thought was very good. John Cena against Triple H. I would say that was one of the matches of the night. I'd say it was up there with the Intercontinental title match. I'd say the third talking point, though, is about Brock and Roman. Both going through the cage. Loved the finish. I didn't expect it. But yeah, spear from Roman. They go crashing down to the floor. Both feet are meant to touch the ground. Now, I wasn't sure what rules they were working with, because you know what WWE are like. They're quite fluid. They go with whatever rules they want to go with. So the commentators were putting over the fact it was the first person to touch the floor, and Brock was the first. So as I was watching it live, if that's the rule they're going with, then yes, Brock wins. But it's since come out, and even WWE have started hinting, actually it should be the feet that touch first, which would mean that Roman was the winner. Now, I don't know if this was a botch. I don't know if it was meant to be a case that Brock's feet were meant to hit the ground first. But I don't think it matters. I think it gives them something to play with. Roman can now claim that he won that match. Roman can claim that he was cheated, but it still doesn't mean that he gets the title. And actually, I think Brock should move away from Roman now. I think Roman's had 2 matches. Don't want to see a third, because I'm pretty sure Roman would win the third. I want to see Brock defend against Bobby Lashley. I want to see Brock defend against Finn Balor. Let's get a couple of matches out first before we have to pass the torch to Roman, because we all know it's going that way. Shinsuke against AJ I thought was a cheap finish. The low blow moment I thought was fantastic, but then the double count out was so flat. Really, really disappointing. And the other thing that really disappointed, Sami Zayn wasn't on this card. Now, this is a rumour. I don't know this to be true, but apparently Sami Zayn is of Syrian descent, and there's a bit of beef with Syria, Saudi Arabia, who people are supporting, all this kind of stuff, right? It's political. And as a result, the decision was taken to not include Sami Zayn on this show. Now, as I said, that is the rumour. I do not know that to be absolute concrete fact. If that is true, then wow. Wow, because now not only are you not allowing women in, but you're now not allowing certain men in either. And where do we draw the line here? Because I don't like this at all. I really don't like this. People also picked up on the fact that Finn Balor was wearing his LBGT stuff, you know, his all-inclusive Balor Club at WrestleMania. He wasn't wearing it at the Greatest Royal Rumble. Finn has come out, though, and said, yeah, I wasn't wearing it on Raw either. I haven't wore it at the house shows. That was just for WrestleMania. But people were kind of looking at that going, you know, is he not wearing it because Saudi Arabia doesn't support those kinds of things? And, you know, they're fair questions to ask. Finn's come out and said, no, fair enough, we move on. But there was a lot of those kind of noticeable issues throughout the show. I mean, with the pre-show, no Renee Young, which I don't know why I was surprised. I didn't really think about it, but I think that's why it caught me off guard. I knew the women couldn't wrestle. I just didn't even think about Renee Young. I didn't even think about the fact that she wasn't going to be able to do her job either. No Charlie Caruso or, you know, yeah, it was weird. It was weird. I didn't like it. So, hey-ho, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully WWE can inspire change. The other thing that I thought was a bit off was the front rows were all like VIPs. You could see like the real fans wearing the shirts and everything. I say real fans. I mean, I'm not sure when it comes to religion if they're even allowed over there. My knowledge of that part of the world isn't what it should be. But it was noticeable that fans were wearing the t-shirts in the crowd, in the stands, and then at the front, it seemed to be more kind of rich people. That was hammered home by the fact they all had like really nice chairs, but they seemed a little bored. I mean, there was one guy in particular that actually had his back on the action whilst matches were going on. It was like highly disrespectful. It is a different culture, and you know, there was a lot of talking amongst themselves. There was a lot of people on phones doing other things. There was a lot of distraction. People just didn't seem to really be into the show, which is staggering considering the amount of money that was paid. Apparently this show has made WWE like 100 million, 200 million. It's crazy numbers, and I understand why Vince felt he had to do the show, because those kind of numbers make a big difference to the business. But a lot of eggs have been broken to make that omelette, and I don't know, the jury is still out as to whether it was worth it or not. Tryout segment as well was awful. You had the winners of the tryouts standing in the ring, and then the Daivaris came out, and they really tried to play on the heat between nations, and again, it just felt a bit flat. I mean, parts of the crowd were a little into it, but it just didn't really come across well on TV. Neither did the come to Saudi Arabia tourist sections. It's like, no, I don't want to go to Saudi Arabia. Not when you're not allowing Sami Zayn in, and you're not allowing women to compete. I can't kind of look past those things and see how lovely your fields are. So, yeah, I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. There's parts of this show that really annoyed me. And as I said, you know, the action in the ring wasn't really strong enough to counter that. I'm not sure this was worth it. I think that WWE will get away with it. They'll be able to just move on from it. I think, you know, brush it under the carpet, move on. But it is what it is, you know. They will go back. Hopefully they can inspire a bit of change. I'm sure there's people in the crowd that really enjoyed it. As I said, it kind of came across like a really big house show with fireworks. Oh, the other thing as well, before I go, Braun Strowman eliminated 13 men in this, which means he has now eliminated more men in a single Rumble than anyone else. So, yeah, Mike Kannelis as well, I think was meant to get the record for the quickest elimination, but that record stands at like a second. So, I saw on Wikipedia it had been recorded as 3 seconds, so I don't believe he's got that record. But it was the classic, comes in, gets clothesline straight out job. So, yeah, I'm not sure that's a record that will ever be broken. I can't remember who it is. I want to say like Warlord or one of the Bushwhackers, maybe even Santino. But yeah, I don't think Mike Kannelis broke that record. Daniel Bryan might have broke the record for being in the Rumble the longest, 1 hour 13-ish, around that ballpark. So, you know, this show might have implications towards the records going forward, or they could just dismiss them because it was a 50-man Rumble and it doesn't apply to 30-men Rumbles. I don't know. I don't know what WWE are going to do with all of that, nor do I think it matters. The show is done. It was okay. Backlash will hopefully be much better. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, hit the subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully see you again next time. Bye for now.